And a change of pace with music royalty Sir Cliff Richard on his career and his new album that has hit the top 10 in Australia.
Centre of gravity, I think. Our next guest is music royalty. Sir Cliff Richard has released 100 albums in a career spanning more than 50 years.
It's amazing, isn't it? The 73-year-old British icon is still as popular as ever, with his latest album cracking the top 10 in the Australian music charts this very week.
So we're all going on a summer holiday.
He's one of the greats, a man with a massive catalogue of timeless pop classics. For 55 years, Sir Cliff Richard has been delivering hit after hit. He's still at the top of his game. Sir Cliff is adored by the public and has friends in high places.
Suddenly, I don't need the answers.
He was one of the headline performers at the Queen's Jubilee.
Congratulations and celebrations.
Now he's enjoying success with his 100th album. It's called The Fabulous Rock and Roll Songbook, and this week it's climbed into the top 10 on the ARIA chart.
And Sir Cliff Richard joins us now from London. Good morning to you. Your 100th album has cracked the top 10 in Australia. That's incredible. How do you feel about that?
I feel great about it because I've had such a long relationship with the Aussie market, so to speak. I mean, way back in, I think, 1961, the Shadows and I first came, and we've sort of had success on and off right the way through those years. So I'm absolutely thrilled, and especially as I introduced the songs last year in January throughout Australia, and I was hoping that you hadn't forgotten, because although we sang some of the stuff in January, the album wasn't released until Christmas time.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we certainly haven't forgotten. Why has your career achieved this much through all these years? You know, you must sit back and ask yourself that.
Well, I mean, I don't know why anybody can last a long time. I mean, we were all written off as one-hit wonders and here today and gone tomorrow. And for a while, we kind of believed that maybe that was true of us. But the Shadows and I performed for almost 10 years. And after 10 years, we suddenly thought, wait a minute, we're not one-hit wonders. You know, after that, I think if you want longevity, then you have to realize it's going to be tough work. You have to work really hard. You can't just be a recording artist, which is probably most of our dreams, to just go into the studio, sing it, let it go out, somebody else buys it, and then you do another one. You have to go and sell it yourself. Fortunately for me, I really enjoy the kind of live atmosphere of a concert. So for me to come to Australia as we did last year and present the new material along with the old, of course, you've got to keep doing that old stuff, which is what people have in their memory banks. And I like that. So that's helped me in terms of the longevity, I think.
Sir Cliff Richard, you've never been to rehab. You've never trashed a hotel. You've never... Well, I actually haven't come across a sex video that you've done. How did you keep out of all of that sort of... I don't think there's ever been a scandal about you.
Well, you know, it's funny. I keep trying to be controversial in my conversations with certainly the press, and I've often said to them, you know, I am actually probably the only radical rock star there's ever been. And they said, what do you mean radical? I said, well, I'm the only one that didn't do what everyone else seemed to do. So I said, I consider that radical. In fact, my band used to say they could never write that you trash a hotel, because they said you go in and you seem to clean up and hoover before you leave. So it's probably partly true.
Have you even
I've never had the desire to do that. I always feel that it's a childish way of behaving, I think, to do that. And I'll never understand why people did.
Tell us your biggest vice that we don't know about. Do you have a tattoo?
Reveal it here.
No, I don't have a tattoo. I've never really fancied having a tattoo. I always think, you know, when you think about the human body, it is an incredible piece of machinery. And if you're lucky, it also looks good. And therefore, to actually... I never felt like tattooing, because I thought that's going to be with me forever, and when I get to be 90, I may not. I wish I couldn't have done it. So I've stayed clear of it, really.
What are your other vices? Come on, fess up.
I'm not going to talk about vices. I'm not sure. And if I did have a vice, I certainly wouldn't make it public.
This could get you a headline, though. You've been
exactly.
after the trouble for so long. We could create it for you.
Well, who needs headlines if after 56 years I can still get an album in the Australian top 10?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it just goes to show what great taste the Australians have.
Yeah.
And of course, if it gets to #1, you'll really prove it.
Exactly. So there are a lot of, young artists like Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus who seem to get into trouble very, very quickly. Why do you think that is nowadays? What advice would you give?
It's hard to tell, really, without knowing them. I've never met either of them. I've seen them performing. To me, they seem to be really good performers. When these youngsters come up in front of us these days, they can sing, they can dance, they can act, they play instruments. We never could do any of those things. When the Shadows and I started, we kind of came from nowhere, and we had to learn everything as we went along, and it was a different kind of world then. But I do think that we had people that loved us enough to give us really great advice, to be able to say, no, don't do that. I don't think that would work. You shouldn't do that. And I just hope that they grow out of this, because they really are good performers, and it would be a shame if they ruined what could be a very long career by doing the wrong things now.
Yep, absolutely.
So, maybe they just got to get someone around them that will advise them and say, no, this is not good for you to do.
Yeah.
So when are you coming back to Australia? First time 1961. When are you coming back? In particular, can we lock you in for a Sunrise performance?
Listen, if you can certainly lock me in, but I couldn't tell you when, because it seems like only yesterday that we're there. The tour that I'm doing now in Europe, by the way, I'm not in London, I'm in Dublin, Ireland. I've been rehearsing here, and we start our tour next week in Hamburg and then go to Berlin and Oberhausen, and I'll be all around Europe. But this tour started, it's exactly the show that I did when I was in Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Newcastle, Perth, and in New Zealand too. And so it's the same tour, so it feels to me as though it was just yesterday that we were, because only today with my band at rehearsals, we were all talking about what it was like when we did this first in Australia. And we were talking about it as though it was last week.
Glad to hear we saw.
We normally leave a couple of years.
Yeah, glad to hear we saw it first, and we wish you well on the current tour. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations again. Sir Cliff Richard's
Thank you
album,
so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
The Fabulous Rock and Roll Songbook is out now. If you haven't bought your mum a Mother's Day gift yet, I reckon this could be it.